You're entering Corsi Nation.
It's Dr. Jerome Corsi. Today it's Thursday. It's August 14th, 2025. And I'm traveling today. Thanks for joining us on CorsiNation.com. We're doing, you can find me on X at Corsi Jerome 1. And that Substack is Jerome Corsi PhD.substack.com. We're doing quite a bit of news coverage today. There's quite a bit going on. I want to start with the fact that Zelenskyy of Ukraine is now in Europe, and he's in Europe trying to, I'm sure, convince the Europeans to continue the war. And I'm quite sure that nobody cares. I mean, first of all, the Europeans, even the Ukrainians, are sick of this war. Russia's won. I mean, let's face it, Russia's won the war. And they're not going to be dislodged from this territory without a nuclear war. Zelenskyy, a little SOB criminal, not really, he's just a comic figure, an actor. This jerk has probably got himself billions of dollars in graft, stolen billions of dollars, and killed other people in the battlefield. Now they're sending in, old people and mentally deficient people to fight for Ukraine. Russia just made a major breakthrough, and Kiev should be scared to death. Russia will just advance on Kiev. Zelenskyy has no way to stop him. The truth is right now that short of nuclear war, Putin can take whatever he wants in Ukraine. Now, I think the reality is that Putin does not want all of Ukraine. Half of Ukraine, and I've said this repeatedly, is German-speaking, and they're aligned with Poland and Germany. They were Nazis in World War II. They're still Nazis. We have neo-Nazi brigades. This jerk Zelenskyy was sending over neo-Nazi brigades to kill Russian-speaking independentists in these two provinces in the east. That's what really started the war. He was starting to go after the Russian Orthodox Church. And this jerk has been dominating the news, Zelenskyy, and with Hillary Clinton and Soros and the others who wanted to put Ukraine in NATO and go to war with Russia. With the end of the Biden administration, we were days away from nuclear war. These jerks at NATO were launching long-range missiles, and Biden gave them those ATACMS missiles, if you remember. Our troops were launching them into Russia and with our guidance systems. And so Russia said, if it's our missiles and our troops launching them and our guidance systems, then Russia's at war with the United States. And that's when we all intervened. I was back channeling, trying to explain to Putin and the world that, Trump was not going to go there. And Trump did not continue these aggressive weapons. Well, Trump has been losing patience with Putin because Trump would really like to have a ceasefire than just negotiate a settlement to the war. But Zelenskyy has, constantly upset every one of those efforts. You remember the classic meeting with him in the White House where this little jerk acted up in front of President Trump, which was extremely inappropriate behavior, and said, no, we want demands of guarantees, and we want this, you want to go to hell, you son of a bitch. I'm sorry. I mean, this makes me angry when I think about how many people have died, how much damage has been done, how much graft there has been, how much arms makers and bankers have made money on a war that never had to be fought, on a war that could have been negotiated from the very beginning. In fact, there was an agreement made that Boris Johnson broke up, and Putin was happy not to go to war. He just wanted to stop the killing. Didn't want to see Russian-speaking people killed by these neo-Nazis. And the American people have been lied to about this war by our stupid propaganda machines called the New York Times and the Washington Post, which I'd only recommend buying if you have a dog and need some coverage. Otherwise, it's worthless. You're just getting lied to every day you look at it. Okay, so now what's going to happen is Zelensky's going to try to get the Europeans, and the Europeans will say, oh, yes, we really support you, and we hate to see you losing territory. But the Europeans can't send in an army. The French, who are dominating a lot of the EU, would be better to run a transgender parade down the Champs-Élysées of their troops in dresses to send the Ukraine to fight Russia. Now, the reality is that Trump is going to meet Putin in Alaska, and I think they already have a deal done. Otherwise, I don't think the meeting would be happening. Trump is using the usual bravado. He's saying he's angry with Putin and there's going to be big sanctions if Putin doesn't agree. Well, Putin's going to say, look, I could go into Kiev tomorrow and we'll stop here. And I think Putin will give up some territory. And I think in return, you're going to have Ukraine give up a lot of territory in the eastern provinces. Okay, that's going to be the solution to this. But you're not going to have a continuation of a war that could turn into a nuclear war if Russia tries to take over Ukraine. And I don't think Russia wants to take over Ukraine. I think Western Ukraine would be very difficult for Russia to manage. I think Russia does not have favor there right now. And the attempt to go in and run Western Ukraine would be foolhardy, and they'd just be immediately revolutionary against Russia. Better to take the territory that wants to be allied with Russia and then forget about this war, because Putin has protected the Russian-speaking people of Ukraine. And this war needs to be put to an end, as the idiocy we've been going through since Obama came on the scene as the great savior who is going to part the waters and heal the planet and all the other BS he promised. It's time for some straight speaking on all this stuff. And I think we're coming to an end of a really sad chapter in human history, where we went through a war that didn't have to be fought on Europe, that has now devastated Europe. Europe is going to be experiencing economic crisis in the winter. These net zero policies are economically devastating. Germany shut down its nuclear plants, and Germany is deindustrialized. France is on the brink economically. And the only reason the United States is not going to suffer a major economic downturn is because Trump passed this big, beautiful bill. Now, I want to comment on this because I think the international economy is seeing what I'm seeing, which is namely that the price of gold today broke $3,400 an ounce. I've been reporting consistently that it's been above 3,300, but now it's broken into, at the high was $3,415 an ounce. And that occurred a few hours ago or 5 days ago. I guess that was in the last month. It's hit that high. But it's trading today still over $3,400. Silver is also rising, which indicates, I think, that the international economy understands how precarious the situation really is. And going into the fall, I think we're going to see a lot more news on this. Silver is today at $38.36. It's over now $38, headed to $39. I'm predicting that you'll see gold at close to $4,000 an ounce before the end of the year. Now I'm going to emphasize again, going to Swiss America on our website. You can take advantage of this Walking Liberty $50 offer. You don't have to have thousands of dollars to buy gold and silver. You can get silver relatively cheaply. So for new customers, you can get this Walking Liberty $50 offer for virtually what the coins are worth in silver. It's a one-time offer for new customers, but it's a great way to introduce yourself to Swiss America and start understanding and getting educated about how some investing in gold and silver will give you a real property, an asset that's going to increase in value when the dollar is going to simply diminish in purchasing power. And if you don't believe me, go to the grocery store and see how much $100 buys today compared to what it bought 10 years ago or 20 years ago. Forget about 30 years ago. The dollar has just become increasingly worthless as we spend it to death. At the same time, I think we're going to see, as Donald Trump settles this war, his attention will shift eventually to the economy more completely. But before I go to the DC issue, I want to comment on the Gaza. We're also seeing that Netanyahu now is strongly taking control of the Gaza. And we're done with this belly aching about the genocide and all the other leftist arguments to stop the war. Netanyahu said yesterday, if he really wanted to do genocide, it would have taken 1 day. I think it probably would have taken 1 hour. But the point is, he didn't want to go in and kill everybody. And Netanyahu has got to deal with Hamas, who will stand behind civilians as shields, who will operate out of hospitals, none of which is reported by the mainstream media. As I say, the mainstream media is essentially worthless. It's just a lying facade of propaganda from the CIA. Okay, now I covered yesterday, and I'm continuing to cover stories on ActBlue. You're going to see a lot more on ActBlue because ActBlue is going to be a major, major crisis. Okay, so I'm going to publish a couple of articles on it again in terms of we've shown the money laundering that's gone on, that at ActBlue, the top executives buy houses for $1 million, and they get $450 million in mortgage loans. That's obviously taking out illicit money from the system. Where'd they get it? Well, the obvious answer is the open border. And I'm going to be publishing a story showing how the Obama decision to open the border with Honduras and to flood the country with unaccompanied minors, flood the United States, and with cocaine and with fentanyl from China, the profits from that trade, which the CIA managed, went into banks and funneled itself up to ActBlue, where the Democrats were taking out money from child sex trade in order to win elections, steal and cheat and win elections. And also take, your IDs and go ahead and use your IDs to make contributions to their politicians with this dirty money. These articles I'm going to write, I think, are going to be earth-shaking, and you're going to see them come out pretty quickly. Now, I want Chris to come on. Let's cover D.C., because Trump is in Washington now, and he's really utilizing the National Guard and the police, and Trump is going to take control of Washington streets in D.C., and he's going to make the city safe again. The city under the Democrats is like all democratically run cities, deteriorated. Chris, your thoughts?
Oh, let's put it this way. It was an emergency situation at this point. I know the liberals, the left is going to point out these skewed numbers. In some cities, I'm not saying Washington did it, but they faked the numbers to make it look like crime was down. Fact is, it's still dangerous. We heard Scott Jennings recently on CNN talk about witnessing a murder on Union Station. Even Joe Scarborough was saying that a journalist who publicly, let's just say on social media, reprimands Trump over this whole situation, has also seen some serious crime and had some issues. There was another journalist who was jumped by a vagrant right in the middle of Washington. We know what happened to Big Balls, and this guy was just but he was being a good Samaritan. I mean, this is what's happening. Good people are getting taken down by miscreants, feral children, predators, if you will, and the city has done nothing nothing about it.
Well, you've got a video. Let's play this video because you've got the people out there in the streets again protesting, and all the nutcases who don't understand that supporting criminals is not popular in the United States of America today. But let's listen to what these hoodlums are doing. Here's the police out in the streets in Washington.
Yeah, this is the thanks these people are getting.
Here's a real cop. He has a badge. He has insignia and he has his name on his chest. That's a real cop.
Fuck no! Don't harass the citizens. He's not a real cop.
The rabble is being roused.
Yeah, well, these are all elected.
Yeah.
These are the people who like, mother rapers, father rapers, baby rapers, as long as they're criminals. They like MS-13. They want to protect illegal immigrants. These people have ruined America.
Well, look at this, whatever it is over here, videoing everything. Probably just like the guy who was videotaping this one or recording this one, just putting it on their social media for profit. The fact is, these people wouldn't be in this crowd or supporting any of this this vitriol against law enforcement if they got mugged or if they got hurt.
Well, the whole thing is they'd be crying and,
Yeah.
begging for their mommies.
Yes, and wondering why nothing's being done about the crimes against them.
Yeah, exactly. And forget it. It's like Adam Schiff. Adam Schiff now is, old Shifty's going to face justice. And now we find out that he released classified information in order to try to.
Fake classified information. He was fudging it.
Yeah, right. They made up fake classified information and they released it.
The liberal media is going to tell you he was releasing classified information, but he was really just leaking lies. He was leaking blatant, rather orchestrated lies masked as classified information. So the media is trying to dig at Donald Trump by trying to imply that what Schiff was saying is true.
All right, let's shift gears here. That talking about Adam Shifty. Okay, so now we've got another bombshell revelation in the Clinton probe. So newly declassified timelines show that in the investigation of the Clinton Foundation, the FBI and the Department of Justice, they're pursuing this baseless Russian collusion theory against Trump, were told to back off investigating Hillary. Of course, I wrote a book called Partners in Crime. Because if you can find the cover, maybe you can show that cover, Partners in Crime. And FBI Director Kash Patel found this bombshell memo written in 2017. And he's talking about the extensive political obstruction that career agents in 3 cities faced from their own bosses and the Obama Justice Department during the 2016 election as they probed Hillary Clinton engaging in pay-to-play corruption. So Sally Yates is even here saying, shut it down, demanding that the FBI investigation that was going on in New York, Little Rock, Arkansas, and Washington simply be stopped. Of course, they didn't want anything going on with Hillary Clinton when they were trying to run her for president. And that's pretty good. So, I mean, Chris, come on and talk about this one, because I think this, again, has been I've been reporting this for years, that the Clintons were running a criminal scheme with their foundation and stealing millions and millions of dollars. And the FBI was blocked from investigating it, which is pretty obvious now.
Now, again, the powers that be, the deep state, if you will, is right now realizing at this point, we're going to have to take the L on some of this. We're going to have to take the loss, but we need to circle the wagons around either the people we're protecting the most or those who will sing and try to take us down with them. We need to protect them while giving the people the pound of flesh they need. And they're going to cut loose a couple of people and maybe send them to the wolves, including allowing the mainstream media to report on them. This is where Schiff is going to go down. This is where Comey is going to go down. And this is where Brennan's going to go down. We're going to see them in serious trouble while the Clintons are going to be protected.
Well, I think the Clintons might go down.
Well, let's see.
Obama has no lost love for the Clintons. If Obama's going to be under investigation himself, he'll throw the Clintons to the wolves in half a second.
Well, don't you think there's fear that Hillary's going to sing like a canary?
Yeah, but I don't think they'll take what Hillary has. They'll want Hillary. They've got anything Hillary knows other people know, and they'll take it from them. I mean, this is not going to be hard. They outright lied. We already have memos from Obama instructing that the intelligence community assessment that Clapper did in 2017 come to the conclusion Russia stole the emails, when Obama knew Russia didn't steal the emails. Okay, and so therefore, they don't need Clinton to sing. They need Clinton to be prosecuted. Now, Comey might sing. They may take stuff from Comey, but the ones I think who are going to go down, I think Obama is going to be under a lot of pressure. But Clapper and Brennan, I think, are definite targets, and it's not just going to be because they lied to Congress. I'm going to be producing information that basically they were treasonous and aiming to destroy the country. They were trying to unseat by lying and using the powers of the Justice Department. There's Obama He's always sticking hamburgers and hot dogs in his mouth.
Hot dogs, definitely hot dogs.
He loved hot dogs.
The hot dog and ice cream administration. That's what it was.
Yeah, well, I mean, he loved hot dogs. I don't. Of course, I'm sure there's nothing sexual about this, but he loved to stuff hot dogs in his mouth. And then Obama and then they liked ice cream cones for little children. Come here, Daddy's got ice. I've got two. Biden. How many times do they have two ice cream, one on each hand?
Well, but don't remember when I guess it was like this. There was no scandals that the mainstream media could come up with for a while, so they kept hampering on Donald Trump's hamburger diet or something like that, or his fast food.
Yes, they didn't
hot
like
dogs are worse for you.
They like his McDonald's diet. I mean,
yeah, well, hot dogs are worse.
They do story about when Robert Kennedy was eating McDonald's. Remember during the campaign?
Yeah, yeah. Well, you're allowed to. Even if you're healthy, you're allowed to treat once in a while.
Yeah, well, that's debatable. At any rate, the point is these guys are going down, and the evidence is coming out now pretty fast that they should know that they're in serious trouble. And I don't think that this is going to be able to be swept under the rug this time. There's just too much coming out. I mean, if we take a look, I was just scanning some of the things that are on, for instance, Citizen Free Press today, where there's an article where, this is again being reported in Just the News by John Solomon, that again, it was Sally Yates and all of the McCabe, former FBI director McCabe, who placed, impediments in front of the agents. They had to justify a public integrity criminal case. Otherwise, he wouldn't let them go forward with Clinton. And they essentially said they weren't going to investigate Hillary. And Comey then exonerated her, except that just before the election, Comey came out and said that the laptop, they'd found stuff in the Wiener laptop, which they'd suppressed for 3 weeks, that was implicating Hillary in a new investigation. Now, I'm going to be writing an article about what that was all about, because I'm putting together some of the things that went on to show the extent to which Obama was complicit with Putin for a long period of time. That's going to be another interesting article. Okay, so we take a look more on what's going on. You see the, Schiff, of course, is in the news. He was told he was going to be the CIA director under a Hillary presidency. I guess that must have been a big disappointment to him. But, Comey's mole is caught red-handed. There's more on this coming out. Every day we're getting more and more revelations, which indicate to me that there is a substantial investigation going on, and it's not going to be blocked. This time around, these documents are going to be, and John Solomon is getting access to a trove of documents, which I think are going to be extremely damaging to Hillary and to Obama. Okay, a couple more things I want to cover before we kind of wrap up today. Let's see, Schiff, Schiff, this whole thing with the whistleblower again, that he okayed the leaking classified information to hurt Trump. The stories coming out right now against the Clintons, against Schiff, against McCabe, which is deeper into the FBI, against Comey and Clapper, and against Obama. These are not accidental. These are setting the stage to prepare the country for what I think is going to be some major, major prosecutions, indictments and prosecutions. I think we're finally going to get it. The countries have been demanding it. One or two more quickly. Another thing, the Pentagon terminated the security clearance of this Russian collusion hoaxer, Susan Miller. I was very happy to see that. She was a complete cheerleader for the Russian collusion hoax. And so they said she can't be trusted with security clearance. So they stripped her of that yesterday. That's another good move. Let's take a look on Zero Hedge very quickly. I saw a couple of things that are interesting for a quick comment. The boomers, of course, are now getting a lot of attention. They're going to transfer a lot of wealth to the next generation. That's going to be a transfer of wealth issue coming up very soon. It's underway right now. And the essential stagflation risks that Europe faces right now with their currency, the euro, just being inflated, and the losses from this that are going to be faced in the winter with higher prices of food and higher prices of energy, that's going to cause a major crisis. But I think between now and then, we're going to see the couple of major developments: the Ukraine war ending. Hopefully this Friday, great strides are going to be taken on that, and Israel taking over Gaza while demanding the demilitarization of Hezbollah in Lebanon, and the pressure on Zelenskyy right now is enormous, and he'll probably act up because I believe his life is at stake if he doesn't keep the war going. And so therefore, putting in a new general, Chris is showing an article here of a general that he could reinstate to go back into the war. It's not going to help. There's no way Russia is going to be stopped at this point. Okay, so in the stories that we're watching, I think the economy, while it's in the background, is still something I think is going to become a major story in the fall. The Trump, I expect to extend federal control over Washington's city police force, and Netanyahu is not going to tolerate any idea of a Palestinian state. I think the two-state solution dies once Israel takes over Gaza. Okay, so this is Dr. Jerome Corsi today. It's Thursday. It's August 14th. In the end, God always wins. God's going to win here too. And I encourage everybody in the spirit of 2 Chronicles 7:14, let's get on our knees and ask God's forgiveness that we let the moral situation of this country get to where it is. And God will hear the prayer and will heal our land. We'll be back tomorrow. Thank you for joining us on CorsiNation.com.